My name is Bianca James. Today I'll be talking to you about the importance of work-life balance. And I'm going to be basing my presentation on a podcast that I saw on the Rate Taker website called Married to Business. This podcast was uploaded in 2016 and was presented by Sarah Ephron. Now, in this presentation, I'll first of all be summarizing the podcast, and then I'll be highlighting three main points for your benefits, which are how this podcast relates to us as students, how having a work-life balance or not having a work-life balance affects our personal life and the people around us, and how we can balance it. So moving on to the summary. According to Sarah Ephron in the podcast Married to Business in 2016, she tries to educate her audience that the business life and the personal life of couple entrepreneurs are heavily intertwined together, as one usually affects the other if it's not properly managed. Now, Sarah Ephron goes on to buttress her point by highlighting the stories of two couple entrepreneurs. The first couple, Frank and Shebnon Weber, are couples from the UK who migrated to Canada to start their tea business. They had little to no financial security, but they invested their time, their energy, their resources, and everything to see that the business succeeds. And it did succeed. However, there was little to no boundary or line between their work and their life. This so much affected the way the business ran. This can be seen as the couple narrated that a divorce, like when the divorce, it did affect the outcome of the business, as the business was splitted up between both of them. Now, Frank has his own tea business called Tea Square, and Shebnon rebranded the tea business and runs it on her own. The second couple, called Caitlin and Neil McGregory, started out dating in the university, and then they later got married 2 years after. They decided to start a business called Plum, which is about matching job candidates to employers. The business started well. It started growing. However, because as the business grew, a lot of investors and partners were very worried about the state of the business, as they feared that the couple entrepreneurs were going to mix up their business, or their personal life was going to affect the way they ran the business. And with this fear on ground, Neil, who was also a co-founder of the business, had to take a step back to let his wife, Caitlin, be the face of the business as the CEO. However, as they tried to focus more on their family life, managing the business got tougher. Caitlin recounted that when she was pregnant and she was trying to pitch, she was receiving a lot of no's compared to when she delivered the baby. Now, Sarah Ephron summarizes the podcast by trying to tell her audience that although there are many advantages of being a couple entrepreneur, it is also very hectic, and there is a lot of work to be done, as it's like the personal life always affects the business life, and the business life always, most of the time, affects the personal life. Now, the next following points that I'll be mentioning would be responding to this podcast. Now, how does this relate to us as students? As students of Sentinel College, we come in, we want to get good grades, we want to secure a good job after we graduate, we want to make ourselves and our parents proud. And we invest so much time, so much resources, so much effort into seeing that we succeed in our schoolwork. However, sometimes we end up forgetting that there is life outside the school or outside our work. And we have little to no work or study life balance, which is very bad. Next, I will be talking about how this affects our personal life, how this lifestyle affects us and the people around us. As much as there are many advantages of having people or investing our time in school or our work, it also disconnects us from people. It makes us not to develop interpersonal skills or social skills, and which is this is very bad because once you leave the school, you are faced with the outside world. Also, it leads to burnouts. Like you realize that you are more stressed, you are less productive, you are depressed, you're anxious, and this is not really bad. This is not really good for your mental health and your performance in school either. Now, I know you might be thinking, how can we balance this? First of all, seek for help. Invest in friendships, invest in relationships, invest in your family. Prioritize quality time and your mental health. As Caitlin, one of the couples, said in the podcast, she said, have quality time designated to couples. If you're single, have quality time designated to your family. Call them, speak to them. Also, communicate clear boundaries to your colleagues. Let them know what time you are available to work and what time you can't. Lastly, as Neil McGregory said, have something that will occupy your mind. Go out for an interesting game that is very mind engaging, or have deep, meaningful conversations with people or friends about other topics other than school or your work. Finally, I would say study hard, plan your life, be focused minded about your future, but remember that there is always life outside our work. So learn to balance your work and your personal life. Thank you.